What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm JLAG.
And I'm NB.
And we are recapping and reviewing Riverdale Season 3, Episode 2. And it's called
Fortune and Men's Eyes.
Because
I know whose eyes I was looking at tonight. His eyes were so yummy.
Oh my goodness. Oh my god. There's so many things that happen in this episode.
Before we get into that, don't forget, guys, we're going to do our recap roundups at the end of the episode. So make sure you stick around for that. We're going to go through our best moments, our best lines, our MVPs. And also we have some comments from you guys from Twitter. So be sure to stick around for that at the end of the podcast.
Yes, absolutely. And for anyone who has just started to join us, thank you so much. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. And everyone else, thanks for joining us again. I hope you guys like the episode. Let's get into it.
So, overall, what did you think? What's going on here?
I'm kind of in love with the season so far in one way, and then very annoyed about the season so far in another way. And I'll get into it as we talk about the episode, but there's some storylines and plot lines that I'm not loving right now. But right. I'm currently living for the Betty Jughead storyline, the mystery, the murder mystery. Super into it. I'm very excited to see how it's all going to play out, because I think it's just going to be full of mystery and full of darkness. And, just like the autopsy guy said, it's definitely darker than anything that we've ever seen on Riverdale. So I'm really excited about that. It's scary. This episode was terrifying. There were a lot of jump scare moments this episode. So I think it's turning into a very dark show, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I agree.
What did you
100%.
think?
No, I'm definitely agreeing with you. I think my only kind of argument last week was the whole Archie dumbass moment, but I have to say my boy made up for it this week. I loved this episode. So far I'm loving everything. Right now.
Nice.
Right now.
We gonna be talking about Archie too, though, because right now he's okay.
Yeah.
He's just sexy. That's it. All right, so let's get right into it as we're talking about Archie. The episode starts off with Archie getting processed for jail. And by process, I mean stripping down to nothing.
I feel like this never happens, though. He's literally, outside. They don't do it outside. They do it, indoors. And, I've seen enough, Netflix docs. And they're outside and they make them strip. Cool, I like that. And then they throw baby powder on them and pulls them down. But I'm
was that dry shampoo? I wasn't really sure what it was, but but it was just a sexy moment. He gets hosed down with water, and I'm like, okay. And I literally wrote down so hot, and then the I guess one of the officers go up to Archie specifically, and they say, the warden wants to see your sexy ass.
minus the sexy
minus
ass
the sexy
part.
ass. So he goes to see the warden, and this is one of the weirdest moments of the episode. So the warden goes and gets him to sit down, and he's like, I read your file, I know your story, and I know everything that you did outside. You murdered that kid. But he's like, I also know you like music, so there's a music room and you can chill. It was just why are you talking about a music room?
It was funny because when Archie walks in, he sees this Shakespearean quote on the wall, and the focus is that, and I'm like, ooh, this is epic and intense. And then the focus shifts, and the warden's like, hey, he's like, I have a music room for you if you want to play music. I'm like, what?
I was what are you trying to be
about? Are you trying to be badass right now, or
it was weird.
I don't get
it was
what's
a really
happening.
Weird moment for sure. So anyway, he's like, respect me, respect the situation, and we'll be fine. Yeah. Because he pivots 3 times. He's like, yeah, there's a music room, but also be careful, and also respect me, and also play some music. I was like, what? Yeah. So anyway, whatever. So then it cuts to the Pop's diner, and FP walks in, and Veronica's full-time waitressing
she's
right
shifting
now.
out, she's cleaning the dishes. She's like, I work here right now. And then the 3 daddies are just kind of sitting there and having a milkshake or having coffee.
So I guess all of them are basically jobless, right? Is that the situation right now?
Is that
none
what
of them
it's supposed to be?
Ain't nobody got day jobs right now. They're just sitting
why doesn't
at
Fred have a job? Fred should have a job, no?
I mean, who knows? Maybe he's on like mat leave or something.
The point
not
is,
mat leave.
they're effing hot.
Yeah. So anyway, they're just trying to figure out what to do next, and
like what's happening Veronica's with Archie.
Like, Archiekins, like whatever. And then it cuts to the Cooper residence, and the girls are talking and saying
but
how.
Wait,
like,
right before that. Sorry, quickly, because I just want to shout out this one moment. Veronica's basically like, oh, I have to get Archie ready. I have to get the school ready because when Archie does come out, he needs to still be lit. He needs to be like lit Archie. And she's like,
he needs to be like the president,
like, whoever he was like before. And she's like, for homecoming, she's like, I want him to be like my lit Archie. And then I was like, oh, remember Homecoming, like the pilot episode?
Yeah.
Because like that's where they started. I'm like, wow, it's only been a year with all this shit.
Okay, so we're at the Cooper residence, and Alice and Betty and Polly are chilling in the middle of the kitchen, and they're just talking about what happened to her last episode, which is she had a seizure. And so so Alice basically says, we're not really sure what happened for real, but the doctor assumes that it has to do with stress and you just need to chill out. And Betty's like, of course I was stressed out. I was watching you drop the babies into the fire. Like, she's freaking out because she thinks all of that really happened. She's like, where's Dagwood? Where are the babies?
Like, how are they doing?
And Polly's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Alice is like, no. She's like, we were just making like chicken shawarmas on the grill, and like we had friends over, and she's like, we were just like mossing at the fire. Like, what the F are you talking about? So
like with people from the farm, but yeah.
Here's the thing, right? Like, what did you think going into this that really like she saw what she saw?
Well, we talked about it, right? Like, we talked about it last episode a little bit when we were talking about it during our podcast.
Right. So after watching this scene, what do you still think about that moment?
I mean, I think last episode I assumed that it had to do with the fact that it wasn't real and she was maybe like having some sort of hallucination or something. But and you said it was going to be like it was a dream sequence, but I was like, no, I think it actually happens. I think she actually has a seizure, but like something happens right before that she thinks that the babies are being dropped into the fire. I don't know. Like, I think that's a part of all of this mystery. I think that we're going to start to uncover like what the hell's going on. Like, something's happening, like something's in the water in Riverdale. Like, I have no idea exactly what's happening, but clearly Betty's getting affected. But in this moment, they just chalk it up to stress, which I already didn't think was the case, but I'm like, sure, okay, I'll walk with that for now. But we can't assume that that's going to be the situation for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Did you notice that like Polly and Alice were looking at each other like really weird?
No,
like,
I didn't notice.
Like, Polly was so... Not that Polly's normal because she's effing sketch like all the time.
She's sketch. Yeah.
But like,
sketch.
Like her and Alice were like just looking at each other like as if like there was something more to the story. Not to say that like she saw what she saw. I don't think she saw them dropping the freaking babies in the fire, obviously. But like,
right.
Like, I definitely think like something else must have happened that night because like Polly's face was definitely like sketched out for sure.
Interesting. Yeah. I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary, but if there is something that went down that was even weirder than that, then I'm sure we're gonna find out about it later. So then in that moment, as they're talking, she was like, it felt so real. She gets a phone call from Jughead and she's like, but what?
She's like, let me answer my phone. It's my boyfriend.
And then she answers and she's like, what happened? And so it cuts to them at the Blue and Gold. And she's like, Dilton died? So I guess Dilton's like R.I.P. for real.
Like R.I.P. Like whoever liked Dilton, sorry.
Like legit, who saw that coming? Like who saw that coming?
I didn't think they would kill him off, but like they killed him off.
But also, whatever. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't care enough for him to be like, oh no, R.I.P. Like, I feel like I cared more about Midge than I cared about Dilton.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
Like, I don't like how they just randomly kill off tertiary characters because a murder is still a murder. A kid getting killed in a high school is pretty tragic.
I know what you mean, and like, it's so hard. Because I am liking this story right now, but I know
like, ain't nobody crying. I know. Jughead didn't even take a day off school. Like what's happening?
Take in, like, if someone died at our high school, like, we would have been, like, traumatized. We would have been like,
Mom, of course.
Like, I need to go to the therapist. Like, ain't nobody saying that right now. Like, how?
Like, if that happened, like, even if I didn't know the person, I'd be like, oh, I'm shooketh. Like, I gotta stay at home and, like, stressed out.
Guys, it happened to us, like, for real. But, like,
yeah. Like, no shade. No, like, yeah, realness. But It was, yeah, it's just how do you just bounce back from like someone who you knew? And it's like Jughead and Dilton like hung
they
out
were,
a
like,
few
pretty
times.
Boys. Yeah, like
They're
not like close, but like he knew him. Anyways, fine.
Yeah, he knew him.
Cool.
He came in season 2.
Dilton's
with
dead.
a gun.
Fine.
Anyway, Dilton's dead. Fine,
Right,
whatever. I'll run with it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And they talk about the fact that there was the Gargoyle King. Jughead does feel a little guilty because he dismissed him, but he's like, all I really remember is hearing him say that. And then when I saw the actual space, it was really fucked up. He's telling Betty this, and he's like, you know, it was like there were chalices in the middle. There were symbols everywhere. He's like, it looked like a sacrificial,
it was like a ritual
kind
almost.
of sketchy situation. Yeah. And she's like, cool, well, like I guess this is our like new mystery for season 3. And he's like, yeah, absolutely, it is, definitely, let's do it.
And he was so
she's
cute.
like, let's do this.
He's like, you want to do it together? He's like, you want to investigate together with me? And she's like, okay. She's like, let's do it.
Okay, boo boo.
Like, it was actually so cute. It was so cute.
Bughead. Yeah. They're so adorable. I love
Bughead
them.
won a Riverdale Ships tourney. So
I
was
know,
like,
congrats.
I was like extra cute. I was like, they won. Like, very cute.
Yeah, for sure. So then it cuts to the jail, and they're like, you're going to be bunking with Mad Dog, a.k.a. I'm going to call him Sex God, because he was so hot.
Don't make this more exciting than it is. I'm going to call him Mad Dog because...
No, Sex God. He doesn't even show up for the rest of the season, so I'm down to call him.
Is he really gone?
What? I feel like he's actually dead.
I'm gonna be
sure.
so cheesed if he's gone. And
that's what I'm saying.
And like, honestly,
soak up the moments that
honestly,
you got to experience in this episode.
I feel like honestly, more than him just being a freaking like sex dog, whatever you're gonna call him, there was something about him, and I don't know if it was just the actor that was playing Mad Dog, but like there was something so real about his character, like contrasting to Archie. I don't know what it was. I totally
felt that too.
I think it was his
like
acting,
he was like on another level.
Yeah.
And he had a really interesting like story that we didn't get to hear all of the answers.
Totally, for
so
sure. Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be a shame if we don't get to see that whole thing come through. Sure. But anyway, so moving on, he does say he keeps really quiet in this part of the episode, and he basically says to Archie, like, nice shoes. Archie's just trying to be friends with him, but he's like, nice shoes, make sure you keep them tied real tight. And I thought that was a reference to, because I know in jail they talk about how they're not allowed to have shoelaces because people use them to like strangle people.
It's funny because when they did pan out and I saw Archie in running shoes, I'm like, he would never even be able to wear those shoes. They give you like slippers,
like flip flops. Yeah.
You don't.
I watch like Orange Is the New Black.
Yeah. You can't wear.
You know how it goes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he just is getting sketched out. He's getting used to his like jail world, and then it cuts to school, and Veronica goes up to Principal Weatherby, and she's like, "Okay, so listen, I'm gonna be the interim like
student body president.
President.
Like, I'm stepping in now because my man's gone."
And he's like, "Sorry, boo boo. Like someone already took your spot."
Yeah.
And then sure enough, it cuts to the locker room, and Cheryl's getting changed, like where she always gets changed
with her like red LED lighted locker.
Yeah. Which people were commenting on, which is funny. Yeah. And then she basically says, like, what's your situation? Why did you take the role? And Cheryl's like, listen, I need this presidency more than Archie in jail needs it. Like, what did you think about this whole situation?
First of all, this was one of my best lines, but I totally understood Cheryl, and I totally agree with her too. Like, I think Cheryl needs that position way more than Archie does, because we don't even know when Archie's going to come back to school. So, like, I get it. Like, she's right. She's like, I need to prove it to my universities that, like, I'm part of school. I'm part of the president, like, the student council, whatever. I think it just made more sense, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why Veronica is being so, like, bent up about this one specific thing. This whole episode, she was...
Yeah, she was very, like, angry and... she was just very like angry at everyone. Yeah,
and like angry about like a very specific thing, which was very like random. I just didn't understand where she was coming from, and it was kind of, she had a pretty pointless storyline this episode for sure. So yeah, such a weird situation with Veronica. So then it cuts to the jail again, and Archie goes into, what's it called? What do they call that area? Like the common area outside.
Like the prison yard, essentially.
Yeah, prison yard, yeah. And he sees the serpent table, and he's like, yo, guys, can I, like, chill with you?
Yeah, he, like, opens his t-shirt. He's like, I'm a serpent. So, basically, what happens is, like, they're in the prison yard, and, like, Archie, like, rolls up, whatever. Everyone's staring at his shoes, first of all. Everyone's like, ooh, look at those runners. And they
look like pretty lit too. Like I was like, wow, you went to Foot Locker before you left. Like I don't understand.
Yeah, they're like Adidas like sneakers. And then he rolls up to like the serpent stable, and he's like, huh. And he like lifts his like sleeve up so that you see like the fake ass S that if he like drew on his arm last week. And then they're like, yo, a serpent dude. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, take a seat. And who was like that one guy? Splash? His name was Splash, I think.
Was it Splash? I have no idea.
Because I noted, I was like, who is Splash? I'm like, I like him. He was cute.
So then it shows Joaquin like coming through the crowd, and he's like, hey, boy, hey. Yeah. And Archie's like, what are you doing here? And it turns out that Joaquin got hauled away during riot night.
Joaquin's like this. He's like, didn't you hear? I got like things like I got like pulled into like juvie. And he's like, no, I didn't hear. Like, ain't nobody heard about your story, Joaquin.
How would he know that
about your story?
Like, no one cares.
No one's talking about you. Fangs almost died. Like no one cares. Sorry about it.
But I mean, I feel like Joaquin's in there now to like start a storyline with like Kevin again.
100, especially seeing what Moose did to him this week. Oh God.
I can't even start. Anyway, so then Joaquin says he was kind of playing hardball with Archie. He goes, well, you can't be a part of our crew unless like you actually do something, because I know you're like pretty soft. Like you have to like, actually
earn your loyalty and earn your respect, basically, like, and your protection.
You got to make your bones in jail too, bro. Yeah. So he gives him a shiv made out of a spoon, and he's like, go shank that guy over in like the area, like in that area over there. It's like a ghoulie guy. Yeah. And Archie's like, but I can't do that. Like it's going to be crazy. He doesn't do it. Yeah. He can't do it. So then, like what I wrote down was like, why is Joaquin being such a douchebag? Why can't FB like control him and say like, bro, like chill out?
I think like it was reasonable. I think like it totally, like, I get it. Like you have to prove yourself, and you're not just gonna walk in and be like, hey, I need your protection, cool, you know, like you're gonna have to like man up.
Yeah, but also like this is juvie. It's like, why you gotta be so hard, though?
But I think like in general they made this look so hardcore, and it might be, we don't know what juvie looks like, you know what I mean? Like
fine.
We don't know. Right? But at the end of the day, Archie kind of just says, you know what, this is stupid, like there's a guard right there, like I'm not gonna do this is so dumb. And so he just walks away.
But I think just generally, it's safe to assume that none of the writers have ever been to jail ever, because like this, like definitely you can't do a lot of the things that happen in this episode.
Right. Yeah. So it cuts back to the coroner's office, which is actually very interesting, because when Betty calls him in the beginning of the episode, it's not the coroner that like we've known since like Riverdale season 1, the old guy. She's like, oh hey, Mr. Curdle, and he's like, no, I'm his son. And we're like, oh yeah, it was like the most randomest like plot twist. And they were like, but why is this like why like why is it the son now? Like
imagine
what's
like
happening?
Imagine like the real coroner is like the Gargoyle King.
Yeah,
Take this in,
bet
guys.
you.
Like,
I bet you. I swear to God.
Watch.
I swear to God, it's that. I swear.
I didn't even notice that. So for you to notice that, like for sure,
and, like, he's
the Gargoyle King.
We
figured it out, guys.
Yeah, people on Twitter were like, "Why did the change though? Like, where's the dad?"
Yeah, it's such a random change.
Yeah, so
like they couldn't renew his contract.
They walk into the coroner's office, whatever. They're like, "Let's look at like Dilton's like body, I guess." And then he was like, there's a lot of cyanide in Doyley's blood. So they're like, well, what was it? Was it like a murder or was it a suicide? And he's like, well, it might be a murder because like look at his back, like there's like shit like on his like written on his back.
Yeah, there's symbols on his back, like etched into his skin.
Like, why are his lips blue? Like, what did he do to his lips? And then the coroner's like, he drank Fresh Aid, blueberry flavored. I was like,
and
what?
There was poison in it.
How do you know that?
Yeah, it was very.
Like, how do you know that?
Who knows, man? Yeah, it was very specific. But anyway, I guess we're supposed to know like exactly what happened to him. So we got that information. But also on top of that, this new like guy, the new coroner, like has a lot to say about like his feelings about this murder mystery.
Like he definitely like feels some type of weight. He was like, guys, look at me right now. Bughead, Jughead, and Betty. Look at me. These two murders are even darker than the first season with Jason Blossom and the second season with the Black Hood. I was like, what are you, like the recapper guy? Like, why are you recapping what happened
like,
in the first season?
Corner's out here trying to steal our spot. And be,
like what are you trying to do out here? Should I recap? That's my job, bitch. Like, step up.
But so the first thing I wrote down right away was True Detective season 1 when I saw the whole situation, the way that it's all being set up. And I think there was something that was mentioned by Roberto saying that it's this season of Riverdale is very much True Detective. If anybody's watched it, go watch it now and then come back and watch Riverdale.
You know what?
Because
you know what, JLAG? I didn't feel it until they were in the woods. And I felt it right in the hospital room when they saw that thing on the door. I was like, oh, MG, this is True Detective for sure. 100.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm so excited.
But also, guys, like, I just finished The Freaking Haunting on Netflix, and I'm just capped out with my horror genre right now. Like, I am just done. I'm done. I'm like, J-Lac, I am seeing things in the car in the mornings. I cannot function. Like, I can't deal with this right now. And there's more scary shit in this show.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm just done. I'm done.
So then it cuts to the photo room. Yeah, and so he's developing all the photos, and then it cuts to Archie in the music room, and he's, like, by himself playing the guitar because, like, nobody plays music. And a bunch of ghoulies show up, and they're like, remember us? And Archie's like, am I supposed to know you? And he's like, we were at that drag race when you called the cops on us.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, sorry, bro. Like, can we like start all over? He's like, honestly, no. We're just going to take your shoes and then we're going to like peace out.
Yeah.
But then they like say something. He's like, don't touch his face.
Yeah.
Why and then they like go in on him. But then it cuts to one of the most random moments ever. It shows Veronica visiting him again.
Yeah.
And he's like slouched over and he's like curling to the side. Yeah, he's like shifting.
He basically can't sit on his butt. He's like moving around. And she's
so
like,
Veronica's
what?
like, why are you sitting like that?
She's like, what's wrong with you? He's like, I'm just a little sore.
And I'm like, why are you saying that right now? Like, you know what happens in jail. Why are you talking like this?
That was for sure on purpose. He was like, my butt.
Yeah, it was so extra, but it was very funny. So then anyway, he's like obviously sore and Veronica keeps pushing it, but he's like, I obviously don't want to talk about the fact that I'm getting beat up in jail.
And like
let's
he's
talk
missing
about
his
school.
shoes. She's like, where are your shoes? Like, why are your clothes missing? And then he's
wearing like dad loafers.
He changes the subject to like school. He's like, what's going on? Like, who's president in my place? Like, what's happening? Yeah. Like, what? He's basically just like bombarding her with questions. She's like, error. She's like,
she can't function.
Can't keep up.
Anyway, so then it cuts to Betty at the Blue and Gold, and she gets a phone call from. She's on the phone with somebody.
Yeah, she calls,
and she finds out that Ben is awake, or he's alert now, or he's like stable. So then she's ready to like go and visit him, but then she sees a new character run out of nowhere. Like, I don't think that's where the front door is. She was in the back area.
It's not the front door.
So
and she didn't
weird.
Run. She like freaking like lurked in from like the side entrance. I was like, what the F?
Like a psycho.
Yeah, like
so weird.
Complete psycho. And then she walks in and she's like, hey, girl. And Betty's like, bitch, what? Like, why are you in my room? And she was like, we almost met, remember? Like, through your mom and your sister. And she's like, bitch, no, what?
And she's like, no, I don't remember. I was having a seizure.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
She's like, how are you feeling? She's like, you had a seizure. I saw everything. We were making chicken shawarma at your house. And, like, you passed out.
So this girl's name is Evelyn, right? Evelyn Evergreen, is that right?
Evelyn Evergreen, yeah.
Anyway, so we get introduced to this character. Nothing really happens. She's like, don't worry, I'm not going to tell your secret. The fact that you had a seizure, like, we're good. And then Betty's like, okay, peace out. Like, you're weird. Like, I don't know. It was a random like introduction to a character. Yeah. But I'm sure we're going to see more about her later. Sure. And then it cuts to Kevin and Moose. The hallway. Okay? Oh, Kevin and Moose. Jesus. Let's just break this down.
Moose, because I'm gonna kill someone.
Like, Jesus Lord be with me, because I can't get through this show anymore with watching these dumbass characters.
No, but JLAG, this episode, like, it hurt my heart. This one hurt my heart because I was like, they're not even both trying to like fuck. He's trying to fuck, or like not even fuck him, like trying to kiss him, right? Or just even get recognition from him, and he's not even paying attention to him.
So so I have a few issues with both of them actually. So yes, so Kevin sees Moose at his locker, and he literally runs at him like full force, and like throws him to the locker, and he starts making out with him, and Moose pulls him away, and he's like, relax, my dad's literally down the hallway, like he's trying to recruit me for, what is it called, the RROC, some like next level Boy Scout or like cadets or something. And then he's like, we got to take it easy at school, like he's gonna be around the area, so like relax. And he leaves Kevin at the lockers, and Kevin's kind of just like cheesed. Okay, so like I said, there's issues with both of the characters. The one thing that I have issue with Kevin is he is being like very, 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 very like overtly aggressive and very sexual with Moose. Like, the only people I know who make out like that, like so heavily in that school, are Archie and Veronica, and like it makes me want to yak sometimes.
But it's not like, true, because he's just so excited. Like, he is genuinely excited. Sure. And at the same time, the season finale, like, it ended off with them making out. So like, that's where he's going off of. Like,
yes, and he's saying like during the summer we were making out like randomly too. So like, what's the deal? But I don't understand why even in the first episode they were like chilling and like sitting by the pool, and they weren't like making out. They weren't like touching each other in the corner. Yeah. Like they were like just reading a book. So, and then talking about having sex by Halloween. Like, it was just random. Yeah. So I don't know what they're doing with these characters. And if I was Moose, I would be like sketched out too. I'm like, first you want to talk about having sex, but like we don't talk about it for the rest of the episode. And then you are like trying to make out with me in the hallway. It's just a lot of things happening at the same time. I can understand why Kevin's reacting the way he's reacting, because he's excited.
There's no excuse for Moose at this point.
Anyway, let's move on, because we got a lot to go through. So then it cuts to Pop's Diner. Yeah. And this is like just a cute, funny moment with Cheryl and Veronica. So Cheryl sees Veronica, and she's working, obviously. And she's like, oh, yeah, I forgot you work here. I'll get some French fries. She's like trying to order for all her Vixen girls. And Veronica is quick to remind her, like, I don't just work here. This is my diner. And she's like, you're acting like trash, so get out of my store, because I don't want to get a violation because there's trash in my
And like Cheryl was like all of me, because I was just like, why is Veronica being so rude? And Cheryl's like, girl, she's like, girl, what's your problem? Like, what did I do? Like, I'm just trying to eat like onion rings at your like restaurant. And Veronica's like, bitch, you're president, get out of here. Like, it was
she's like literally extra. She's like, but she does say, she's like, it can't be just because of the presidency. Yeah. And Veronica's like, actually, it is. And I'm like, okay, clearly it's not just about that, but sure. Yeah. Like, I think this episode, you know, we're joking about it and we're saying like Veronica's storyline is so extra in this episode, but it's just because she can't do anything. She feels powerless. She can't help her boyfriend, and so she's doing whatever it takes, and it's frustrating her. Like, she can't even like hold on to his presidency. She just feels like she's losing everything. The Innocence Project is mentioned by Cheryl. She's like, you should look into this. Like, you should be focusing more on like
and getting Archie released.
And she's like, F it, I'm going to TGI Thursdays. Which is their TGI Fridays. Yeah.
Just quickly, it cuts back to the hospital. Jughead and Betty are at Ben's room. And Jughead notices like a string figure on the doorknob, like as he's like turning, kind of looking around. And he's like, what the F
and
is
he's
this?
Like, who left this here?
And then like Ben's mom was like, oh, like some girl came with like a bow in her hair. Like, she came by, and like I think she might have left it, or she was here, or whatever.
And I'm like, of course it's like Ethel Muggs. Oh, she's always wearing.
And then Sheriff Mineta like comes in, like freaking interrupts like the moment. And he's like, "What are you guys doing here? You guys are trying to get into my business, take my job."
He's like,
"You do it better
he's like,
anyways."
he's like, "This is an open investigation. Like, what's going on? Like, you should stop meddling, whatever." And then the weirdest thing happens.
He's like, "Another kid is missing."
But that's the thing that kind of annoyed me, because it was like Sheriff Mineta comes in and he's like, "Don't investigate," but then the police officer comes in behind him and like lays down all the tea and says like some other kid's missing. I'm like, how do you guys? How are like? That would never. First of all, that would never happen in real life. Ever. Like the police officer would never be like, "Let me tell you a full secret that only the police know right now." Like to everybody. Anyway, it was kind of stupid.
Basically, like the kid was part of Delton Doyley's crew, so like he must be like some sort of cadet or RCMP or whatever.
No, he's like a scout. He's like one of the scouts.
And then it cuts.
So then it cuts to
the lodges, right?
And then well, mayor, like the mayor's residence.
Yeah, and Veronica's like, "Madam Mayor, aka my mommy," and this is another moment where they get to talk about the Innocence Project a little bit more. And Veronica tries to sort of like, you know, persuade like her mom, and she's like, "Mom, I need your help. Like, we got to get like Archie out. Like, what can we do?"
She wants to start a chapter in Riverdale.
Yeah, and Hermione's like, "No." She's like, "I can't get into the middle of it." She's like, "I can't get involved, whatever." And I'm like, this is the moment where you make a Netflix documentary, Veronica. Like, get your camera get your camera, get Jughead, and you guys make some sort of documentary and get Archie out.
Like, no lie though, if this becomes something that actually like makes Veronica more activated as a character, and you know, she's like a social justice warrior, I'm totally down for that. Because if she's just focusing on like getting her dumbass boyfriend out of jail, like it's such a random thing and such a selfish thing for her to want to focus on.
I think you mean like it has a farther reach, right? Is what you're trying to say.
Absolutely. I think that like, you know, if she's actually going to start this Innocence Project, I hope it continues on for like season 4, season 5. Like she continues to try to help people.
That's highly unlikely because the show's gonna.
But you know what I'm trying to say. I just feel like,
and I definitely think like I definitely think that's why we might see Mad Dog again, because I feel like in taking Archie out of all of this, I feel like Mad Dog's gonna be a part of that too. Like it can't just be like she saves Archie. Like that's so small. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it has to be more than that.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically like by the end of their conversation, Hermione's like, okay, she's like, I'll try to do something. I'll draft like a letter or whatever. She's like, you know, she's like, I'll help you. So Hermione comes through for her daughter. Cool.
So then it cuts to Betty and Jughead visiting Ethel at school, and they're like, "Hey girl, oh my God, what's Ethel. This bitch?"
Ethel's like uber sketch. Like, yo guys, this girl
so sketchy.
I can't with this girl. Like she's so weird.
So then she's like, they're like, "Is it the Gargoyle King?" And she's like, "No, that's not the Gargoyle King. It's actually a talisman that's supposed to protect Ben."
Yeah. She's like, "He's my boyfriend."
I'm like, "Okay, Sierra Burgess, relax."
Like what are you like? You got freaking Noah Centineo for like 1 minute, and now you're like dating every guy. Now what? Chill.
Like, relax. I'm like, did you catfish him too? Like, what happened?
That's so savage.
So tight.
Yeah,
but
so she's like,
it's true. So she does.
She's like, me and him are like so hot, and like we're in the bunker.
She's like, we were dating
time.
over the summer.
We were like chilling in the bunker, like, and like Betty's face throughout the scene is like,
she's so confused.
She's like, when? She's like, I thought you were a C character. Like, how are you gonna have this crazy storyline all of a sudden?
How and why? Yeah. It was so random.
And she's like, anyway, she's like, Dilton Doyle had a bunker in the woods. It was our secret spot. And they're like, okay, take us there like right now. And she's like, I'll take you guys at night. Like, whatever. Let's go there at night.
So anyway, then it cuts to Archie in jail. And Mad Dog basically says, I told you that you should have taken better care of your shoes. Like, the ghoulies love sneakers.
Yeah.
And Archie's like, what's like this situation with you? Like, he just keeps trying to dig and ask him all these questions. He's like, you're not a ghoulie, you're not a serpent. Like, what's your situation? And Mad Dog's like very jaded. He's like, you're gonna become a bad person in here. It hasn't happened yet, but like you're gonna have to fight like an animal to just survive.
Yeah.
And he's like, trust me, you don't want to get tapped. And Archie's like, what's getting tapped? He's like so confused. And he's like, trust me, like be an animal before they kill you like one. And like It is weird because you don't really know what's happening with Mad Dog in this moment.
You don't know who he is, because also like he does mention that like he has belongings that like no other prisoner would have. Yeah. And so, you know, there's like some sort of weird dynamic that he must have with the warden or a guard or something, right. You know?
So anyway, it doesn't get answered just yet. And then it cuts to FP and Alice at the Cooper Res, and Jughead and Betty are walking right in, and they're like yelling as soon as they walk through the door. Alice and FP are like, what are you doing? Just sneaking off. Sheriff Minetta just called us. Like, you're just like meddling in situations again. And Alice like spills all the tea all over Betty's face. And she's like, do you want to do this again and stress yourself out? That's why you're going to have another seizure. And Betty's like, I can't believe you just said that to me in front of my boyfriend.
Her mom faces jokes.
And Jughead's like, you had a seizure? And then I wrote down, how come you didn't tell your man that you had a seizure?
No, you know what's really funny? In the beginning, in my notes, I was like, she never told Jughead about her seizure, and then of course it came up 100. In this moment. So I was like, yeah, it definitely had to come up. She definitely didn't tell him initially, because of course like she doesn't want to worry him or whatever it is. But yeah, so Alice like kind of drops the bomb on that.
And then they like separate. Like she runs upstairs, and then Jughead is taken home by FP. I love how
like Jughead like Betty runs up the stairs, and like Jughead tries to like go after her, and then like Alice like blocks him. She's like, no, and then like
they split them up.
He like pushes, and then she's like, FP. She's like, get your son. Like she like calls him.
Get your son out of here.
Yeah, it was so cute. It was cute. So effing cute.
I love their dynamic. I love like dynamic. All like four of them together. I just want them to get married. Like, let's just do this right now. So then it cuts to Archie and Reggie and Veronica in jail, and Veronica and Reggie are visiting him, and they bring him shoes, like next level shoes. They're not just like the black and white ones, and now they're like blue and yellow. I'm like, oh my god,
yeah,
do you want him to get
so
killed? Like, I don't understand what you guys are trying to do to him. So they're like, here are the new shoes. And this moment I wrote down, like, they might as well be like, yo, we're gonna be effing in like the next 2 episodes, so just like be ready for us to like get together.
Oh my god, didn't you feel? I totally felt like, it.
Didn't you feel like that's what they were doing? They were setting it up. I'm sorry, VARCHIE fans. Like,
because like here's the thing. Ready. Like, guys, like real talk. Like, if this was like last season, like Veronica would have come on her own. She wouldn't have come like with Reggie, or like she would have come with, like her and Jughead. But the fact that like they're gonna definitely set up this next season with like Veronica and Reggie, and like Archie being like the man out, for sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. And even just like last episode where he was like, take care of like the bros, take care of the like, it was very much that like, you know, that Pearl Harbor moment where he's like, take care of my girl, but don't have sex with her. Yeah. But then, like, of course you're going to have sex with her. Anyway, so then, like, we'll see what happens as the episode goes on. But, yeah, so they just have a really quick conversation. He's like, oh, we really miss you on the football team. Like, we wish that we had you. And then Archie, like, has a moment where he's like, ding. He's like, I have an idea. Yeah.
So then he gets like onto the like the prison yard again with his like freaking like popping shoes. And let me just shout out. Let me take a moment to shout out the gray sweatpants everywhere, because they were out and about, and it was gray sweatpants season.
Oh my god, sweatpants season. Yeah, for real.
So then Archie's like walking whatever, and Joaquin's like, yo, bro, you're gonna die with those shoes on. He's like, no, Joaquin, I want to live. And it was like so cheesy. So cheesy.
Guys, this is such a cheese-ass moment. So then, like, I couldn't even deal with it. But then it got
very cute and like very like Friday Night Lights, aka my favorite show of all time. And then Archie was like, you know what? He's like, I have an idea. He goes, they want us to be animals. We're not going to be that. They want us to be like caged in here. We're not going to do that. Like, let's not fight. Let's just play football. Like, it was like, we have differences. It doesn't matter.
Of course.
Let's just sweat it out and let's play sports. So amazing. Cool.
He's like, it's just such a typical Archie move for him to do. He's like, let's just hold hands and play football.
Whatever, like even Mad Dog comes in, he's like, sick, bro, I'm gonna play football too, because my abs are like,
he's like,
they're just all hot. Like, they're just all hot. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
Everybody, Envy's losing it.
Gray sweatpants, blue eyes, you know, Mad Dog. I can't.
Guys, like, be ready for the GIFs tomorrow. We are going to get them out to you.
Coming through with the GIFs. There's gonna be like sweat dripping off the GIFs.
Anyway, he tries to get people to do it, and like one of the ghoulies even comes up to him and he's like, bro, I never even learned how to play football because I was selling drugs for my grandma because like she was sick. Like, I was like, shit got real quick. Like, and then he says, like, whoever wins, whoever the MVP is, like, gets my new sneakers. It shows again the warden's, like, watching Archie, like, become this person, right? So he's, like, surveying him the entire time. Then it cuts to the Cooper residence, and there's a really cute moment. We get a really cute moment with our girl, Betty, and Alice. And she, like, goes up to her, and she's like, here's some tea. It's not from the farm. It's, like, Lipton. Don't worry. And she gives her a hug, and she's like, I just want you to be safe. Like, I love you. Like, just take care of yourself. Like, rest. Like, I didn't mean to, spill the tea because of, like, I thought you already told Jughead. And she, like, it was a very emotional moment. Like, you can see with Alice / Machen, like, really pulled it in for this part of the episode. And then, of course, like, she like closes the door and Betty like turns around and like walks out her freaking back window. Yeah. Like I was like, girl, bye. Yeah. Like get out of here. So then it cuts to Jughead and Betty and they're in the woods. Yeah. And so he's like, so can you like let me know what the hell happened to you? Like what was the seizure situation? She's like, honestly, it was about stress and like I didn't really want to worry about it, like whatever. And he's like, and then I pull you into like a murder investigation. Like, I don't think that's a good idea. And she says something kind of cute, but also like very like weird and dark. She's like, honestly though, like this is like the most normal thing. She's like, it reminds me of like how we fell in love basically, which is cute, like, but also TBT. Like you guys are weird. Like how like figuring out like murder mysteries is what makes you feel better.
And then like as they're walking, like you hear like the branches like whatever move. And then you see this like huge, I didn't even know what it is, like a demon.
It's the Gargoyle King.
Well, yeah, but like what is it? Like branches? Like
he literally like turns around, like his back is made out of branches, and he turns around. They shine the light on him, and like blood is on his face. Like he has like the skull face, and he's like massive. He's like really, really, really tall. And they're like, and because Betty has been having like these hallucinations, she's like, Jughead, like, do you see this? Because like I feel like I'm going crazy. Yeah. And he's like, no, we gotta like, go. And they start running. Yeah. What did you think of this moment? Because I was freaking terrified.
No, I was shook. Like I'm telling you, like I have surpassed my fear meter for this week. I'm like I can't anymore. I'm so like done with scary
like it's gonna get to a point where I'm not gonna be able to watch this by myself. Like I was scared. I had to like it was terrifying. So anyway, so he's kind of running after them, but he can't catch up because he's like gigantic. And then it cuts to them
pops, right?
Yeah. And they're like, oh, like it was the Gargoyle King. Yeah. They look at the little drawing from Dilton.
Like,
and then
so they're basically looking at the sketch and he's like it was too tall to be Ethel, I think. And she's like, think, Thomas?
And he's like, let's go back to he's like, we still haven't figured out where this bunker is. Like we should go back to the map like we should have in the first place. I'm like, yeah, instead of going into the middle of the night with Ethel, maybe you guys should have checked out a map that you had in your hands the entire time. Like what's wrong with you people? Like for people who have been doing like investigations for the past 3 seasons, they're kind of so like dumb. Rusty. Yeah. Anyway, so they're like, okay, let's figure it out. Like they have an assumption as where the bunker is. Yeah. It's in like Fox Forest, which is like, okay, cool. Yeah. Then it cuts to Veronica, and I even wrote down, meanwhile, Veronica's just visiting Archie. Like their storylines are so different.
She's like
they're so
she visits
different.
Him again, and he's like, hey girl, he's like, I have an amazing idea. He's like, I'm gonna throw a football game for my boys. And then she was like, oh my God, amazing idea. She's like, I just want to be there like cheering for you and like I want to like dance for you. And she's like, like she's just like, I want to cheer. And he's like, cool. I want to cheer. And like obviously he doesn't think of it. And she's like, wait a minute. And like she gets she gets like the idea, obviously, whatever.
So then it cuts to Cheryl and Veronica again in the locker room. I feel like they did like each take, like just different situations.
It was very repeated. And basically she's like, hey, you can be president, but now I need a favor from you. And Cheryl's like, what, bitch? And she's like, can you get your visions together? Because she's like, we got to go dance.
Yeah. It's very much like a moment like that happened. I think it was last season with like Betty,
the pop signer
blackmailing. Yeah, the pop signer like helping that shit out again too. Yeah. So anyway, Cher's like, okay, cool.
We cut to a really weird moment at Pops.
Yes.
What the F?
With Kevin. Yeah. So Kevin's picking up food, and then the whole like crew, like the RROTC crew, like comes in, and
Kevin's like about to say like, "Hey, handsome," but then like baby, he like cuts himself off. Cause like Moose is like, shut up, basically.
He's like, my friends are here, like I can't talk to you right now, like I'm busy. And Kevin like calls him out right away, and he's like, are you ashamed of me? And Moose is like, no, I'm just gonna leave now, bye. Like Kevin, like go do some like LGBT like activism or something. Like maybe this isn't his storyline. I mean. Like I don't know. It was a
very heartbreaking episode for Kevin because it was like he kept getting turned down, and that's what
like shut down. Yeah. So then it cuts to Archie and Mad Dog in jail, and they're like getting pumped up. They're like doing push-ups, and like one of them's like freaking doing like arm lifts. So I was like zoom in, and then Archie's like, are you gonna play football with us? And Mad Dog's like, I don't know, like I might have some other business with the warden. And Archie again is like, but who are you though? And this time he kind of breaks it down a little bit, and he's like, listen, I came in here and I had a sister and like a mom, and they used to come, and a girlfriend, they used to come visit me, and then the warden told them to stop seeing me like 2 years ago, and now I'm stuck like being his bitch basically. Like he doesn't really get into a lot of detail as to what being tapped means, but I think it has something to do with just
you kind of
it's like you're the inside man, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Is that the situation? Yeah. Like you're the inside man making sure that there's order in the jail. In the But it's also like a very dangerous position to be in, because if anybody finds out that you've been tapped by the warden, then like you're in danger. Anyway, so that's the situation. It was kind of sad. It was a little dark. I thought it was going to go even darker and talk about like some injustice as to why he was in there in the first place, but it doesn't really get into that
later.
detail.
I hope it does a bit later on. Yeah.
It might, but I'm telling you, like, Sex God might be dead. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I'm sad. So anyway, it cuts to Betty and Jugs, and they finally get to the bunker, and they find all these like creepy clues. So it's really dark in there. It's really creepy. They see those little charms hanging everywhere.
So quickly, just for you, I have a question. Once they get into this bunker, Jughead's like, it looks like the inside of a Philip K. Dick novel. Then when I started researching him, he's the guy behind Blade Runner and Total Recall and Minority Report. So like, I know you've seen those films. Yeah. What do you think about that connection to like all of this?
I mean, those three movies specifically are sci-fi films, so I wouldn't say necessarily, but they all have the same thread, which is like murder mystery and like film noirish. Maybe not Total Recall, but definitely Minority Report as well as Blade Runner. So I can definitely see that connection, but beyond that, I don't know. Maybe he meant like the darkness of it. Maybe it's like, I don't know. I didn't really get the reference either, so... Sorry, guys. Let us know what you guys think, because I'm sure one of you guys will tell us, because you guys are pretty smart. You guys are smart peoples.
Smarty pants. So basically, they find out that like they've been playing this game in this bunker the entire time, and there's images of the Gargoyle King like even on the wall, and
on a coin,
and like they see like I guess like hints or like riddles that's like drink from the correct cup. And there's like
and ascend like if you choose the right cup you'll ascend.
Shelf. Like I don't even know what's going on. Like what the F is like who's playing this game at this point?
And also the one thing that I was like that I wrote down at this point, and I guess we realized it later why, but I was like, how are they figuring this out before the police even get down here? Like are they not doing any like investigation on their own that they're getting kids to do it right now? Like it doesn't make any sense. So anyway, whatever. One of the other scary moments of the episode, Betty goes down and like checks underneath the bed, and a freaking person just pops right the fuck. I literally jumped. I was not prepared for that at all. So then it cuts to commercial, then it goes to the next part, and they're asking him, like, what are you doing here?
That they had mentioned before.
They're like, everyone's looking for you, your mom's looking for you, and this kid is like,
I'm waiting for Tilton. That was my orders, so like wait for him to come back.
Yeah, and they're like, sorry to break it to you, bro, but like he dead though, and nobody cares.
Yeah,
clearly.
And he was like,
so
he's like, what about Princess Etheline? She's supposed to like come back. She's dating Ben. I'm like, Princess Etheline? Who the hell is that?
Well,
bitch?
yeah. So yeah, that's what Betty said. She was like, what about like Ethel and like Ben, like and
they
her boyfriend
know
Ben?
More than they're leading on to know.
And the kid is basically like, actually no, it's like they weren't dating IRL. They were only dating in the game.
Yeah. And her name in the game is like Princess Etheline.
I'm like, wow, what a reach. Anyway, so then clearly like Ethel's been lying about something.
She lying.
She been lying. Then it cuts to one of the most fun parts of the episode, the jail, and the football game. So they start the football game and everybody's like getting ready. And then the Vixens come through.
And I'm like, when it cuts to I'm like, where did they come from? There's like no road. There was like
so we were
one sidewalk.
I know, seriously. That's what I wrote down. I was like, how did they all get in? Like, are you allowed to visit like that?
Yeah.
Like, are you allowed to do that? So anyway, they walk in with like a little jukebox and they start doing this thing. We were blessed with this on our timelines from like Warner Brothers like 2 days ago, and it was really exciting to see it, and seeing it in full was like even better, obviously.
Yeah. And like honestly, guys, it was so effing cute. Like as a VARCHIE moment, like the one guy was like, yo, like what is that, like who is that? And then like Archie's like, that's my girl. Like it was so cute.
Yeah,
like he
was
was
cute.
So proud of her. It was
cute.
So effing cute.
And then of course Hiram rolls up and he's looking hot AF though, but he's looking good.
He just literally like, this is what he does. He like rolls up, guys. He gets out of the car. He looks at the warden from like 20 effing thousand meters away, and he's like, nod. Yeah. And the warden's like, nod.
But before that all happens, she kind of like yells at him. She's like, listen, what are you doing here? Why are you here? And he's like, I just don't want to make sure that you're wasting your life like taking care of a criminal. And I'm like, but what else did you expect to happen?
You were in jail 6 months ago. Like, lest we not forget that you were a criminal.
Yes, true. That's the tea. And so Veronica's like, you have everybody in your pocket except for me and Archie.
Yeah.
And she's like, BRB, I gotta go dance for my man. So she like runs she runs back and starts to go dance again. Yeah. And then Hiram like does the whole nod thing with the warden, and then the police get involved, and they're like they try to break up the police or the football game. And this is the one part that like really annoyed me about Archie. Archie like goes in on these policemen. He like beats one of them up.
So unbelievable.
I'm like,
it was actually very sad because like he was actually like mid run. Like I think he had the ball and he was like mid run, and like everyone's getting like murked around him, and he doesn't realize it till he touches down basically, and then he's like, oh shit, and then like the cops are like, get down. And then he's like, douche. And he punches like 3 guards, like knocked out, like out. I was like, okay, that's kind of like unbelievable, but whatever.
And that would literally send you into solitary confinement.
Like some next level punishment. Yeah, for sure.
Like you can't go do that. I was like, are you dumb? Like, are you trying to get yourself killed? Like you can't do that. Anyway, so while this is all happening, Veronica, she's like screaming. I don't know why I said it, guys. So she like looks over and she's like screaming. She's like, oh my God, don't hurt my man. Like don't hurt him, whatever. And then she looks over. And then Hiram's like putting on his like glasses, and he's like, I'm a boss.
He's
and
like,
he
nod.
He's like,
I'm a dip. Like he's
he's like,
extra.
Sorry, girl.
He's so extra. Like, why did you have to do that right now?
I mean, we know why.
I know why,
like, we just know why. But so then it cuts to like them in jail again, and Archie's like, where is Mad Dog? Like all his stuff is gone.
Where
it's
is
like
Mad Dog?
out.
And we want to know.
I'm like, I want to know where this ex-god went. Like, where did he go? So then they're like, sorry, he's dead. He dead now. And Archie's so confused because he's like, he wasn't even a part of the riots. Like, what happened? And then it cuts to Pop's diner, and Veronica's just like lamenting with Cheryl. She's like, ugh, my dad's just gonna be so annoying for the rest of my life. Like, I can't date my boyfriend who's in jail. Like, what's gonna happen with me? And she even says that he put her on the don't admit list. Like she's not allowed to visit. And Cheryl's like, don't worry about it, girl. You just got to get like a fake ID and like put a wig on. Like you're good. Like, okay, fine, whatever. And then it cuts to the school. And they talk to Ethel again. They're like, girl, you lied to us the entire time. You weren't actually dating Ben. And Ethel, once again, has like a Sierra Burgess moment. And she's like, no. We were dating for real. Like, it was a real thing. You don't understand. You're like an extra person. Like, you're like an underling. You don't understand this whole situation. And she's like, Dilton tried to talk to you about this, but you can't go to the police because like he's gonna come after you. Like look at what happened to Dilton. So as she's trying to like continue the conversation, her hand like whips up and she starts to have like a seizure. So the one thing and then she like falls to the floor and Jughead goes to call the police.
It was like kind of like the All My Single Ladies dance. She's like, oh, I'm a single lady. And then she like glitches out like halfway through. And then she just like falls to the floor.
So anyone who's watched Hereditary will know that this was very much like a throw to that movie. Because I watched that like a couple months ago. And there's something that happens in that movie that's exactly like this moment. And it was freaking terrifying seeing it in Riverdale. Because I was like, why is everything happening so scary in this show? It's so scary. So anyway, she sees, and as she's trying to help Ethel, she sees our girl Evelyn like watching in the corner, just like chilling. Then it cuts to the jail and Archie walks in. He's like, you only have an hour to hang out here. And then it's freaking Veronica in a blonde wig, which we saw in the ad. She's like, if this is gonna be their conjugal visit for the rest of the show, I'm gonna die.
No, it can't. She's like, hello. She's like, I am Monica Paj.
I'm like, I'm done. I'm leaving.
Done.
I'm leaving.
I'm checking off I'm like, computer. I'm done.
This is what I turned off my TV and like walked out. Like, I'm like, I can't do this.
She's like, but anyways, she was really cute. She was like, I'm gonna help you get out. Don't worry. Like, we're gonna figure this out. And he was really cute. He was like, he just like smiles at her.
He smiles at her and he's like, oh yeah, baby, give me that wig now. Like, he's so into the wig. He's like, ooh,
he's like, Betty,
like Dark Betty had a wig. Now you got a wig.
He wants that Betty.
Light Veronica.
Yeah. So then it cuts back to the school real quick. And then we see Kevin and he's joining like this whole cadet like RCMP kind of like
ROTC situation. And the dad like sees him come in. He's like, oh yeah, true, you're like Tom Keller's like son.
Yeah. And like just like my whole thing of him just being in this whole thing with Moose is like, why are you so thirsty though right now? Like, why
bother? You can't be the only two gay guys in all of Riverdale. That's a lie. Like, anyway, they exchanged looks and like whatever. Like, honestly, I don't even want to talk about it because I'm just annoyed. So then it cuts to jail again. And you see Archie like in a better lighting. It's like the blues and the reds. Like, it's very like cinematic. And the warden comes in and he's like, what did you do to Mad Dog? Like, what happened? And he's like, save that righteous anger. And then he taps him on the shoulder and he's like, you've been tapped. You're going to be my new Mad Dog. Anyway, we'll see what happens with that. But of course, he's going to get himself into trouble, obviously. And then it cuts to Hermione and we get a setup guys, you don't even understand how excited I am.
Yeah. So basically, like, she calls a meeting and she starts talking about this game, right? About this secret that they had buried years ago, like in their high school times. And so she's basically talking about this whole idea of this game. And then they all start looking worried. Like, Mayor McCoy's like, just make it go away. Like, let's not talk about it. Like,
like can't you just like push stop, it away? Like, stop
don't
this.
Bring it back up again, whatever. And like everyone's sketched out. Like, FP's like worried. Fred is worried. Like, everyone's faces is like, let's not like effing talk about this right now.
Yeah, like even like Daddy Keller was like, you know, we made a pact to never bring this up ever again, like completely forget about it. Like, why can't we let this go away? And, you know, Alice and FP basically say, like, the kids are already getting involved and, like, our kids are in danger now. So we need to protect them. And it was crazy to see, like, Hermione being, like, the most lit one. She was like, our children are in danger. We need to protect them. And I'm like, yes, Mommy Lodge, like, come through. Also, did you notice that Hiram was like shafted to the side? He wasn't standing beside her. He they're not sleeping in the same bed. That's for sure.
Ever?
Like,
seriously.
True story.
So basically, anyway, very exciting moment. This is probably like one of the best moments of the episode for me, because I was like, they're definitely setting up this flashback episode, and I'm loving the premise so far. Like the fact that
which, by the way, is happening in two.
You know, before, right?
Yeah, which, by the way, this episode is happening in 2 episodes from now. So, like, episode 4 be ready for the flashback. Yeah. Guys, I'm so excited. Anyway, yeah, it got me really excited because we never knew there was an inkling of them knowing each other. And, like, well, we knew that there was history, like the drama history, but we didn't know that there was literally, like, a murder mystery storyline that they're all pretending didn't happen. So I'm just really excited to see like what this is all about. Like, did they initiate what's happening right now? Like,
I don't know. I'm just excited to see that, and I want it to happen again. Like, if I'm gonna get one flashback episode, I kind of want to see another one. You know what I mean? But like, I know there isn't gonna be another one, but like, we're gonna want more after the first one. I feel like, you know,
unless we get all of our answers or as much as they can give us in that one episode, we'll see. But yeah, I'm really excited to see how that all goes down. So then it cuts to the hospital, and they're like, okay, sick. Like, Ethel's like sleeping now. She's fine. She's like stable. But Betty's starting to put the pieces together, and she's like, I don't understand why she had a seizure. Like, seizures aren't contagious. Like, what's happening to the kids in Riverdale? She's not really sure what's happening. And then it shows like some commotion, and they like go into the room. And Ben is like chilling by the window, and he's like basically about to jump out.
Hospital windows would never be open like that ever. Like, they would
never
be, like,
ever
closed and shut. So sorry about it.
Especially since like they think it might be a suicide, like, or attempted suicide.
Never. So he's basically like sitting on the windowsill, like freaking window open, and he's talking like gibberish.
He's like, I'm gonna be with Dilton now. Like, the answers are the answers. Like, he's just saying some weird shit, and he's like, I'm not scared to ascend. Like, Dilton was afraid, but I'm not afraid. And Betty's basically trying her best. Both Betty and Jughead are trying their best to get him back out from the freaking window, to be like, dude, like, come back. Like, don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. And he's like, no. Like, I'm good. And then last thing he says is, he'll find you. And then he falls out the freaking window.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't fall. He jumps. He jumps.
And then it
it's like, like he literally hits a car and dies. So
I mean, it was expected. Like, I don't really care about Ben anyways, but I think it's just I think it's just showing that like the season's gonna get effing dark at this point. Like,
but it's very scary, and yeah, that's how the episode ends.
It was nuts.
We went to Twitter and talked about it with our peoples, and we got some comments.
Yeah, so we have a comment from @Postmaster, and he was just talking about the end. Ethel looked like she was possessed. Definitely. Best moment was the jailhouse rock for him. His MVP was Veronica because of, well, everything she did tonight. Though I thought Archie was surprisingly great in episode 2. Same with me. I feel like Archie definitely came through this week. Very surprisingly, because I hated him last week. And then we have @zipper_pull. I like the parents' conference. It's a good setup. I hated everything with Juvie Kevin and Moose are making me angry, and I basically agree with everything that he just said. And then our last comment is from @MythicalTaco. Best moment when they brought up the Innocence Project, because it's a real organization that helps a lot of people who have been wrongly convicted. MVP Veronica for being a caring girlfriend and trying to take care of Archie. LVP Moose for being a jerk to Kevin. Kevin deserves love. #yes. But totally, yes, I agree with the Innocence Project. I was so happy that they touched upon that kind of plot point, and I'm totally down for this story to go that way. Like, I'm so down for that. I love it.
All right, let's get into our recap roundups.
Best moment.
My best moment was the bunker, because I just thought it was giving me all the vibes that I'm looking forward to seeing this season. I know you're all tapped out for the horror this week, but I was feeling it. I was scared. I jumped. when he came out of under the bed, like I was feeling those vibes, and I'm so excited. It's so True Detective. It's so like, even with the parents coming in at the end talking about the legacy of this murder mystery, like it once again shows that like it's so much larger than the kids, and I'm so excited to see where it all goes. And the bunker scene was pretty spooky ooky.
My best one was definitely the football scene with Archie coming through, because I think it's very rare, at least for me, to have a moment with Archie that like I'm like, oh my god, you did the right thing, you came through, you're so effing cute. Yeah. And this whole episode I was just vibing with him and his little cute like smiles and like his little cute like comments about like Veronica. I just loved him, and the football thing just made sense, you know what I mean? Like I think it just makes sense in our regular world. Like sports does bring people together, it does create like an amazing like experience for like a lot of people, so it does make sense. Like yeah, like it's a little unbelievable that like the wardens were all like watching him and like the guards were all like there, but like it was a really cute moment. I loved it. WTF moment. My WTF moment, I couldn't decide. So my first one was Mad Dog dying in the riot, because I was like, what the F, like that he can't be dead. Like God, please no, like no, make him die. I just didn't understand, like, is it gonna lead to another story, or is he just actually straight up dead? And then my second moment was like Ethel and Ben were dating, because I was just like, what? So I'm like, tight. What a random story.
She's like, Sierra Burgess.
Him. Like, you're
That's
all
what happened.
Over, man. What are you doing right now?
Get out of here.
Not too cocky, girl.
My WTF moment was Ben jumping out the window at the end, which we've talked about already. But I think it's really extreme for someone to literally like just jump out a window. So I'm just very worried to see how much power this Gargoyle King has over the kids of Riverdale, and to see where this mystery goes. I'm like very excited, but it was very much like oh shit, they're like really going there. They're like definitely going there. It's like murders every episode so far. So
MVP. My MVP is Archie, because I think he definitely came through for me this episode, and I was so happy about that because I hated him last week. And just his whole football magic part was amazing. So I loved him for that.
I'm gonna give my MVP to Betty, because I'm like, you came through after a seizure and you were like down for the murder mystery. I was like, go girl. LVP.
My LVP is gonna go to Kevin, and not Moose, just for this reason alone. The fact that they're making Kevin so effing thirsty right now, it's grossing me out. Like it's almost too much. Like, you can't make him this thirsty and this desperate. Like, there has to be another guy that he like falls for, and I don't want it to be Joaquin. Like, he's done with Joaquin too. Like, there has to be more guys for Kevin.
Or like, I don't know, like he needs to look in the mirror and like love himself more. I don't know.
Hated
like
this whole thirsty chasing this guy down storyline for Kevin, and I'm like, you can do so much better than this, but right now you're my LVP, and that's it.
He was also my LVP, so I'm gonna change it to Ethel, because I'm like, girl, bye. Like, Sierra. She's been such a situation from like season 1. So now like season 3, like, girl, why are you doing your
she's
delusional?
Being, like,
you're
catty,
crazy.
You know, like when Betty was like, girl, like, what's going on? She's like, he's my boyfriend. Like, we just like hang out. Like, she's like not like. She doesn't want to like tell them what's happening. Like, she's holding information. So it's like, you're shady.
Yeah, and then she like fakes like murder, like ransom notes to people during the musical. Like, it's just so many things happen with her that this is like another extra thing that they're just throwing her way. And I'm like, okay, get out of here. Like, I'm done.
The best line.
I didn't have a best line, so I'm gonna let you go. And it's not because the writing wasn't good. It's just nothing really stood out to me.
There were so many good lines, but I'm going to choose when Veronica and Cheryl were talking in the locker room the first time. And Veronica's like, well, Archie's gone, so like I should be president or whatever. And then Cheryl was like, when JFK was shot, Jackie O wasn't named president. Lyndon Johnson was. And I was like, that's so true, girl. Because like, it just doesn't work like that, right? Like, just because you're his woman, like, you don't get the title.
Anyway, guys, that was the episode. Super long, but thanks for sticking around. I think we just had a lot to say because this episode was pretty good. It was very exciting to talk about. Let us know what you guys think. Make sure you guys are commenting, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that yet. And if you want to, just let all your friends know that we're the best podcast out there for all the Riverdale tangs, and make sure everybody listens to us.
Thanks for listening, guys.
That's it.
Bye.
Bye.